Welcome, chatters, to today's International Marketing Monday, brought to you by the Atrioc Chatters Labor Union. Today we're going to Germany to cover the biggest tax fraud in its modern history, known as the Cum-Ex affair. Recently, this youthful lad has been in the German news because he's in court at the moment for his involvement. But what part do diaries play? How is our now chancellor involved? He's not currently under investigation, so surely that means he's a beacon of innocence and morality. The story begins in Germany's banking city, Frankfurt, in the 90s, because this fraud was up and running for, yes, over 3 whole decades. In fact, in 1992, this guy, August Schäfer, the state commissioner in charge of overseeing the Frankfurter Börse, Germany's Wall Street, comes across suspicious trades and actually gets the okay from the state minister Hans Eichel to investigate further. He uncovers 19 suspicious schemes, including the Cum-Ex trades, and actually reports them to the Hessian state minister and even Germany's Minister of Finance at the time, Theo Weigel, who's got crazy eyebrows. However, zero action is taken by any of the governing ministers. Later, they would testify to never even having heard of it before. The banks were happily surprised by this lack of action, and even though some laws were implemented to combat the issue, nobody was really enforcing them, and the banks just went on to continue their scams. But how do these schemes work? What are Cum-Ex transactions? I tried to find a good, easily understandable diagram to explain it, but turns out it's actually kind of complicated. Just look at this. Yuck. The easiest way to sum it up is that 3 parties move around stock in a circle the day dividends are paid out. Once the trade is complete, the involved parties end up with 2 tax certificates, while only having paid tax once. Let's say you have 100 euros in a stock that pays you 1% dividend. That would mean you would get a €1 dividend payment. Those dividends are taxed at 25% though, so you gotta pay 25 cents in taxes. Now, even legally for some reason, don't ask me why this is even a thing in the first place, but you can get those taxes back through a tax certificate. By implementing the Cum-Ex trades, the second person you sell your stock to can now also get one of those tax certificates without ever having paid the tax to begin with. They effectively get taxes back they never paid. All involved parties split the cash and take home free money, paid for by the taxes of normal people. Now, don't confuse Cum-Ex transactions with Cum-Cum transactions, which is an actual term, by the way. I'm not even joking. Cum-Cum transactions are used to evade taxes, meaning you hide your money so you can avoid paying the tax. But that's beta shit if you ask me. Cum-Ex, on the other hand, is active tax theft, where you steal taxpayer money for wicked profits. Over the course of the next few decades, pretty much every bank optimized how to best do these Cum-Ex trades, not only in Germany, but on an international level. In total, it is estimated that over 150 billion euros were stolen worldwide through these trades. In Germany alone, the current estimate is around 40 billion, so a bit less than one Twitter. The year is now 2002, and Hans Eichel, who gave the initial okay to investigate these schemes, is now Germany's Minister of Finance. He knows all about the banks and their dirty business and is surely going to make sure that these trades stop. After all, he's in charge now. And the banks actually did something kind of surprising. They sent him a warning letter about how they get more taxes back than they paid, and this legal loophole should get fixed through legislation. So they snitched on themselves? Why would they snitch on themselves? Are they stupid? Luckily for them, our Minister of Finance at the time, quote, doesn't have the facilities or knowledge required to fix this loophole, so nothing happens. 2007, a new Minister of Finance, Per Steinbrück, and a new motivation. They know what's up, they still have that warning from the banks, and they are gonna step up and fix this loophole. And look how nice of the banks! In their warning letter, they even included a little proposal on how a law to fix this loophole should look like. Surely they are just concerned citizens who want to make sure taxpayer money doesn't get stolen, and this law they propose is in the best interest of the general public. The now brand new law meant to stop these trades, however, included a wicked little loophole, making it completely possible to still do Cum-Ex trades, and now even legitimizes them because, well, They weren't banned in this law, so they must be legal, right? Only 5 months later, a whistleblower snitches and tells the ministry about the loophole, but no action is taken. Over the course of the next decade, the trades are booming and corruption runs deep. People of the ministry are now working for the banks, and banks are writing up laws meant to control themselves. 4 ministers of finance all come and go, none of them put an end to this. But no worries, I'm sure none of them were involved. After all, when asked about it later, none of them remember anything about this. I mean, with this much dementia going around, you would think these ministers are as old as Big A himself. Finally, the year is 2012, and while despite fears the world did not in fact end, legislation was finally passed that put an end to the CumEx trades. Now all that was left to do was find out who exactly was involved and who is to be held responsible. But shocker, even this process is riddled with corruption and meddling from the banks. No trials are initiated, and it looks like it will be brushed under the rug and forgotten about. All involved parties would have gotten away without any consequences, if not for one prosecutor, Anne Brohilka. Not the government or state authorities, but Brohilka and her team launched investigations against managers, attorneys, and bankers involved in the CumEx affair and took them to court in lawsuits against over 1,000 involved people. Which brings us back to this guy, Christian Olearius, who is currently in court for it. After legislation was passed banning these trades, the government got to work on getting their money back. Naturally, the banks were not exactly a fan of that, and Olearius, at the time working for Hamburg's Warburg Bank, had an idea. After all, statutes of limitations do exist, and these scams were running since the 90s, so the state kind of needed to hurry up to get their money in time. Olearius booked a meeting with the then mayor of Hamburg, Scholz, and suddenly the previously fast-progressing investigation slowed down to a crawling pace, and the millions that were to be paid back, now statute-barred, were left completely untouched. When asked about it, Scholz first claimed to not remember ever having any meetings with Olearius. But after documents revealed that there were in fact 3 meetings in his office, he changed it up a bit and claimed to not remember what these meetings were about. However, he was sure to not having discussed any of the CumEx trades or engaged in any corruption. Only problem, like any true Sigma, Olearius was a notorious journal keeper and wrote down what happened in those meetings in his diaries. Sadly, the involvement of Olaf Scholz, while pretty much public knowledge at this point, is not being investigated any further. I'm sure him being Chancellor does not have anything to do with that. As for Olearius, he does not seem to be having a great time in court, but sadly the punishments for the involved bankers so far have been fairly laughable, and while these CumEx schemes are now illegal, it is almost guaranteed that they have already found a new way to steal our taxes, because that's just business. So chatters, next time you have a few $1 million just laying around collecting dust, step up your game. Don't just avoid paying taxes, but put in some work, put in some hours, and actively steal additional taxes. Chances are you will get away with it, and if they try to catch you, just hit them with a good old "I do not remember," and you're good to go.